Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. The Economic Community of West African States has called for coup leaders to release Guinea's ousted president Alpha Condé and return to constitutional order. At their virtual meeting held on Wednesday, the bloc also suspended the country.
Guinea has been suspended from West Africa's main political and economic bloc following the weekend military coup that ousted President Alpha Condé. The 15-member Economic Community of West African States held a virtual summit on Wednesday to discuss the situation. Burkina Faso's Foreign Minister Alpha Barry said ECOWAS was demanding a return to constitutional order and the immediate release of Condé and others who were arrested.
A high-level mission should be sent by ECOWAS to Guinea as of tomorrow in order to speak with the new authorities. And after this mission, ECOWAS should be able to re-examine their positions. But for now, it has been decided to suspend Guinea from all the decision-making instances. We ask that this decision be endorsed by the African Union and the United Nations.
Barry did not announce any immediate economic sanctions, as ECOWAS did with Mali's coup last year. Some experts say ECOWAS's leverage over Guinea is limited, as it's not landlocked like Mali, nor is it a member of the West African Currency Union. Guinea's coup leader, Mamadi Doumbouya, has promised a unified transitional government, but has not yet said when or how this will happen. At least 8 political prisoners were released on Tuesday evening. Many had campaigned against a constitutional change, which allowed Condé to stand for a third term. The military has also been dismantling forward posts that were used at the height of the protest against the constitutional change to house police and soldiers. Located in different neighborhoods of the capital, Conakry, they facilitated rapid responses. Doumbouya has also met with heads of Guinea's various military branches as he hopes to unify the country's armed forces under the junta's command.
In the meantime, Nigeria is challenging the Economic Community of West African States to take proactive steps to prevent coup d'etats on the continent. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says the unconstitutional seizure of power in any form is unacceptable and has no place in the 21st century. He stated this while representing President Muhammadu Buhari at a virtual extraordinary session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS member states on the political developments in the republics of Guinea and Mali.
We, of course, are greatly saddened by the events of the 5th September 2021, which culminated in the arrest and detention of President Alpha Condé, the dissolution of the Guinean government and the suspension of the constitution and military takeover of the authority and affairs of the government of Guinea. And we join all well-meaning global leaders to express in the strongest terms the condemnation of the Nigerian government of this unconstitutional change of government, a development that we believe could seriously destabilize the Republic of Guinea. We fully endorse the recommendations made by the President of the ECOWAS Commission, but let me also state unequivocally that the unconstitutional seizure of power in any shape or form is simply unacceptable, and that what happened in Guinea is a brazen disregard for the provisions of the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance, which clearly states that every accession to power must be made through free, fair, and transparent elections. In finding a lasting solution to this development, we believe that the military junta must ensure the physical safety of President Alpha Condé and all those detained along with him.
The United Nations says her team is on ground and at the regional level are continuing to monitor the situation closely in Guinea. UN spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric says the resident coordinator is coordinating efforts to share regular updates and to communicate with key international partners.
Our UN team on the ground says, and at the regional level are continuing to monitor the situation closely. Our resident coordinator there, Vincent Martin, is coordinating efforts to share regular updates and communicate with key international partners. Our team on the ground also remains committed to supporting the country, including in its ongoing efforts to tackle multiple impacts of COVID, while also monitoring the Ebola situation, which was declared just over 3 months ago.
African Affairs analyst Alester Wilcox joins us now for more on this. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, a high-level envoy is to be sent to the country to find solutions. What do you think? Do you think this suspension is enough to bring Guinea back to democracy?
Well, it has always been the rhetoric every time there is coup d'etat in Africa, and the first thing you get is other delegations and envoys being made to go and discuss. We had this situation in Mali, and that has solved it properly. It's the same rhetoric that we'll keep having, but if something differently is done about this issue of coup and unconstitutional of government, might just continue. At the end of the day, there will not be real pressure. So I'm not satisfied with what is happening. I'm certainly satisfied. It's going to be the same rhetoric, except going to be some additional to the coup juntas in Guinea for them to review power. If not, it will just be the same rhetoric, the same delegation, the same decisions, and at the end of the day, Alpha Conde will not be returned to power, and there will be in Guinea. Nobody God knows how long that new order will last. So a lot of watchers tell you for free that it's just the same of thing. Even I take advantage of the fact that it's not much. The sanctions are not there, and so there's no deterrence for anybody that wants to carry out a coup plot in Africa.
Well, let's just take a look at the events that led to Sunday school. Many have been frustrated, by last year's constitutional change that allowed President Alpha Conde to run for a third term. So, in the meantime, the news that the constitution would now be scrapped and replaced in public consultation has been received well. In the meantime, with this new military leaders, can these military men be trusted to actually do what they say?
Every unconstitutional takeover of power in Africa comes with a promise or a popular, let's say, a popular subject that is of disaffection to the people. Of course, there must be a reason for the juntas to take over power, and the reason being the fact that they felt what Alpha Conde did last year was wrong and very, very harassing to a lot of people. But the fact remains that is that the option? Is coup the option? Now, they have taken over and they are promising to change the constitution. So after then, what next? For anybody, look, the civil authority in any country is the only authority that has the right to change things as they want to. Now, if unfortunately African countries have been ruled by persons who make themselves God over their nations, and so there's a lot of leadership dysfunctionality in terms of structure in Africa. So every president seems to have to be wielding power over every other citizenry. But that cannot continue. And but the option will not be some adventurous juntas taking over and riding on that principle. Of course, there must be a reason. And the reason being the fact that the constitution was illegally amended. But of course, it was amended through whatever democratic means. So, but the coup itself is an aberration because the constitution does not provide for a coup to end another illegality. You cannot put illegality upon illegality. And so that is why African nations need to stand up, need to come together and really find something else other than suspension, other than a few discussions here and there. Maybe just like what happened in Gambia, maybe the Gambia solution should be there at the beck and call of African leaders. The Gambia solution via military action is being threatened against anybody that wants to undermine democratic system. Then that might also be deterrent. But these discussions, delegations, suspensions, it will not achieve whatever objective it is. It will be there, it will change the constitution, and the man will change from military and become civilian, and it is their business as usual.
Well,
and that doesn't get to change in any time soon.
Well, just very quickly, looking ahead now, what do you think lies ahead for Guinea's future?
Well, Guineans will suffer a bit of economic sanctions because the sanctions, the sanction will not affect the leaders, will affect a few of the citizens because there will be of economic sanction. Yes, that's going to happen. Politically, there will be some dislocation. The constitution is suspended. The non-electorates start the constitution. They will not try to create a new constitution. That will not take maybe years to create a new constitution. The middle will still remain there. That has been the same pattern over. And then before you know it, the coup leader will now resign from the military and now contest as a civilian and still perpetuate himself in office. Now, my solution is that, look, and it's just, except African is the military option in removing illegal juntas and take over power. Nothing will change. Apart from big countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, that maybe such cannot happen and then it just be lied low. But it can't be ruled out. With the way things are going, any opportunist can take such opportunity and the opportunity legality in terms of removal of power. Because you get upload from the citizenry until they begin to show their own facts. When they bring their own facts and then they start complaining. So something drastic must be done, not just discussion, not just suspension. Something drastic must be done in order, and it's not only West Africa, from other multinational bodies to bring enough pressure to bear, not giving them breathing space on the coup leaders so that they know that they are not welcome anywhere around the world.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Alastair Wilcox, African Affairs Analyst.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, moving on to other stories, an outbreak of meningitis has been declared in the northern eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, with more than 120 people killed. The first cases were reported in July, and more than 100 people are receiving treatment at home and in health facilities. Well, the World Health Organization says that the outbreak has been difficult to contain because of the community's beliefs that it is linked to witchcraft. Meanwhile, the samples shipped to France for screening found out that the bacterium responsible for this outbreak had the potential to cause larger epidemics. WHO and the DR Congo health officials have now deployed a team to the northern eastern province of Shopo to contain the situation. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta has declared the drought affecting parts of the country a national disaster. The drought has affected 10 out of 47 counties, with at least 2 million Kenyans affected. The president directed the Treasury and the Interior Ministry to support the victims. He also announced this after meeting leaders from the affected arid and semi-arid areas in the north of the country, which have received less than 50% of their average rainfall. The residents of the affected areas, who are mostly pastoralists, are facing hunger, and some of their livestock have died. The World Health Organization is calling for a global moratorium on booster COVID-19 vaccine doses until at least the end of the year to enable every country to vaccinate at least 40% of its population. WHO head Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus had a month ago called for a global moratorium on booster doses until the end of September to prioritize vaccinating the most at-risk people around the world who are yet to receive their first dose. But there has been little change in the global situation since then.
A month ago, I called for a global moratorium on booster doses at least until the end of September, to prioritize vaccinating the most at-risk people around the world who are yet to receive their first dose. There has been little change in the global situation since then. So today, I'm calling for an extension of the moratorium until at least the end of the year, to enable every country to vaccinate at least 40% of its population.
we've seen incredibly compelling data from high coverage countries, high income countries, producing countries. So where they're getting high coverage with these vaccines now, you've seen it, they are still having COVID cases, but their COVID deaths are plummeting. In the countries with the low coverage, they are still having high rates of COVID deaths. And this is what we need to change, and change as rapidly as possible. Should there be a moratorium on boosters? Absolutely. Should there be a moratorium on vaccinating people at low risk of severe disease or death? Absolutely. So our job as the World Health Organization, the Director General at the top of this, is to make sure that we call for equity for these products in every single way possible.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo declared an outbreak of meningitis in the northeastern Chopo province with 261 suspected cases and 129 deaths reported. Health authorities have deployed an initial emergency team, and WHO is supporting the response. More than 100 patients are already receiving treatment at home and in health centers. WHO has provided medical supplies and plans to deploy more experts and resources.
Morocco's Islamist Justice and Development Party, PJD, has suffered a crushing defeat in parliamentary elections, slumping from 1st to 8th place in the country. The Liberal National Rally of Independence Party gained most seats, followed by another Liberal party, the Authenticity and Modernity Party, which is seen as close to the monarchy. According to the preliminary results announced on Thursday, both parties took 97 and 82 seats respectively of the 395-seat parliament, while the centre-right Istal party got 78 seats. The PJD only got 12 seats from the 125 seats it had in the outgoing assembly. Elected politicians in Morocco have only limited powers, as key decisions remain in the hands of King Mohammed VI. The rift between Somalia's Prime Minister and President Abdullahi Farmajo appears to be intensifying with the latest sacking of the Security Minister. Prime Minister Mohamed Rubble sacked the minister late on Wednesday, but President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has rejected the move. Mr. Rubble has since replaced the Security Minister. On Thursday, President Farmajo called the move unconstitutional. Now, this is the second time the Prime Minister and President are differing on appointments. The Prime Minister last weekend sacked the spy chief, and the President reinstated him, then later appointed him on a new role. The two leaders have in the past differed publicly on policies. President Farmajo banned agreements with foreign entities until after elections, but the Prime Minister went ahead to sign agreements in his Kenya visit last month. Well, in the meantime, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has threatened to withdraw the country's troops from the African Union's peacekeeping mission in Somalia. He issued the warning following an escalating row between Somalia's president and prime minister. President Museveni made a similar threat in 2011 to push Somali leaders to resolve their differences. Uganda joined the AU force in Somalia in 2007, and it has just over 6,000 troops in the 22,000-strong force. Well, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cornwall, has been announced as the first patron of the Mirabel Centre, a sexual assault referral centre based inside the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Ikeja. Conveying the good wishes of Her Royal Majesty during a visit to the centre in the company of the management of LASUT, the British Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ambassador Ben Lewin-Jones, said the Duchess was proud to shine the spotlight on the centre's work towards providing free medical and psychosocial support for victims of rape, sexual assaults and gender-based violence, which align with Britain's efforts towards achieving SDG goals on gender equality.
We're here to celebrate the significance of Royal Highness the Duchess of Cornwall being a patron to the Mirabel Centre, and really that shows her commitment to tackling these incredibly difficult issues of sexual violence and sexual assault in Nigeria. And her understanding of that came in part from the royal visit in 2018. And we really hope, and she really hopes, that patronage can help elevate the profile of the Mirabel Centre, get still more people to come forward with financial support, get still more victims to come forward, because there are so many people out there who need help, and really help the Mirabel Centre reach still more people and raise the profile of these issues and help prevent some of these issues from occurring in the first place.
Alexis, she's the program
founder of the center, Itoro Ezianaba, who was clearly appreciative of the Duchess's interest in the center's work, said despite successes, challenges of victimization and stigmatization persists after rehabilitation.
Support services are not available for survivors of rape and sexual violence. We do what we can here at the Mirabel Center, but when we make referrals or they go back to the larger society, the stigmatization continues. There's a low level of prosecution. The victimization in the community also continues, because at times the alleged perpetrator is a celebrity, is a rich person or is a known person, and if the survivor is not of the same economic class, it becomes a serious problem, because others will victimize and say, okay, why don't you take this 100,000 naira, why don't you take this 2,000 naira? So that pressure, societal pressure to withdraw cases and not follow up, that's another kind of challenge that we face with our survivors.
Artifacts looted by British troops from Ethiopia in 1868 have been returned to the Ethiopian embassy in London. The embassy says they include an imperial shield, a Bible and crosses. Well, the foundation purchased the items through a UK-based auction house and private dealers before handing them over to the embassy. In the meantime, the embassy says it will now arrange for the artifacts to be returned to Ethiopia. Now let's go to South Africa, where 5 young people from Cape Town's Langup Township squeeze into wetsuits for a snorkeling lesson with 33-year-old Zandile Ndlovu. She's the first black free dive coach. They are turning the tide on decades of apartheid history, in which water sports were reserved mainly for wealthy whites.
Trying snorkeling while on holiday in Bali in 2016, Ndlovu fell in love with the ocean. She swiftly got her scuba driver's certificate the following year. Last year, she received an instructor's certificate in free diving with no equipment. Today, she's South Africa's first black diving coach, turning the tide on decades of apartheid history in which water sports were reserved for wealthy whites.
In becoming a freediving instructor, I knew for the first time ever that this passion needed expansion. And the water space has not always been diverse, and I wanted to create a space where diverse representation in the ocean space is possible.
Established in 2020, the foundation currently pays for the lessons, but it's looking for funders to ensure its longevity. The 33-year-old gave up her own consultancy business, which she had run for 5 years after being employed in the corporate services sector previously. South Africa's first female free dive instructor, the children learn how to bite down onto the snorkel mouthpiece when breathing face down in the water, among other skills.
Sisani teach us to swim and to know everything in the sea. And we saw octopus, fish, shark.
My joy is the moment when one of the kids says, "Oh look, it's a fish," or "Oh look, it's a starfish," because it means that they have transcended the fear space to actually look beneath the surface. Pulling it.
Wayne Florence, a marine invertebrate creator, says Ndlovu's work is very important in helping young children connect with the marine world.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.